Mr. Jim Barfield, who represents the Copper Scroll Project. Jim is a retired criminal investigator with multiple career positions leading up to his retirement from the fire marshal's office in 2005. He since developed a passion to decipher the famed Copper Scroll discoveries, which was found in 1952 near the Qumran caves. Jim established the Copper Scroll Project with a straightforward mission statement to help the nation of Israel recover the treasures of the Copper Scroll. Mr. Barfield, will you please come up?
Got 35 minutes. Strap in, get ready, because we got a lot to cover. Okay, it is the Copper Scroll Project. You're going to have to excuse my back. I usually have a computer in front of me. Chris was going to say a prayer, but I got him praying now. We're going to be a little bit rushed, and so if you got questions, please save them to the end. We probably won't have time for any. Disregard this. I found out they're going to have it all over the internet, so you're good to go. Copy whatever you want. This is what we're planning to cover today. What I believe the Copper Scroll has on it, and I've had a couple of rabbis tell me that these items are the dowry for the coming of the bride. Sorry.
We need the audio for the people viewing you online.
You took 2 minutes. I'm getting another 2. It's a dowry for the coming bride. And it's important that you learn that Qumran is far more than what it is right now, just a tourist attraction. Qumran is I consider it a holy place to myself at this point. Qumran was a miniature Jerusalem in the wilderness at that time. Also, we did a powerful test at Qumran to see if there were any metals there. And ladies and gentlemen, there was a lot. Ancient mortar may seal a cave of treasures about 348 meters to the northwest of the Qumran ruin. We also found an encrypted term of endearment on the Copper Scroll. We're going to go through the disclosure, and again, hang on because we're going to go pretty quick. The Copper Scroll, found in 1952, about 7 feet long and 1 foot wide, has 57 locations of amazing temple treasures, if in fact they were still at Qumran. This is the facsimile that I used to decipher the Copper Scroll. As you can see, there are 12 columns. The last one is the 12th column is the smallest one, and there is some significance to that, but there's also Greek letters on the Copper Scroll. That's where I believe there's an encrypted message for terms of endearment. Those red marks are the encryption, the groupings of Greek letters. You'll notice that's 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 9, and 10 through 12. The last writer, the 5th writer on the Copper Scroll, because there were 5 writers, and you got to understand the Copper Scroll is literally a copper document that is about 1/8 of an inch thick, and that's what they used. That's what I used to figure out how to understand the Copper Scroll. Many of the words on the Copper Scroll are misspelled or spelled in the way that they did at the time, and I believe it was at the time of Jeremiah. Jeremiah, I believe, is the man that insisted on this being done because Qumran had been attacked by the Babylonians, and there were only about 100 priests left to hide and bury these items. These are the documents that confirm, or at least strengthen the possibility that the Copper Scroll is a real document that is used to hide and bury these treasures, what I believe are the treasures of the temple. The Apocalypse of Baruch, the Second Maccabees, marble tablets from Iraq, and the treaties of the temple vessels help validate that the Copper Scroll is a real document. The zealous writings. The treatise of Mechamelech is written by a rabbi in 1648. The records were written by 5 righteous men, Shemur Halevi, Hezekiah, Zedekiah, Haggai the prophet, Zechariah the son of Edu the prophet. There concealed the vessels of the temple and the wealth of the treasures that were in Jerusalem and in every place, which will not be discovered until the time of the coming of the Messiah, the son of David. May it be speedily in our time. Amen. And so it will be. These are the holy vessels, the vessels of the temple. Scholars have tried to figure this thing out since 1952. Why would a guy like me figure it out? Guys, I can't tell you. But I can tell you this, there's a lot of people in Israel, including the Antiquities in the Antiquities Authority and rabbis that believe that I have figured it out. Let's get started. Under the ruins of the Valley of Acor. This is the most important line on the copper scroll because it tells you where to begin. It tells you what to look for and where to look under. These are the things that I look for. As an investigator, you find your clues and then you go back and you search for the person that did the crime. Well, I worked backwards on it in this case. Under the ruins in the Valley of Acor. It's that simple. Why the scholars couldn't figure this out, I have no idea. But what I did that was different than I believe the other scholars did is I followed the directions. And my wife was incredibly surprised. The Valley of Acor, the two red lines you see on either side. Qumran, that is the only set of ruins in the Valley of Acor that I was familiar with, but I was very familiar with the ruins of Qumran. Studied the scrolls for many years before this. This is a drawing that I used. It is to scale, and it also includes a lot more detail than any other map that I've ever found. Location number 1. Would you like to see where the first set of valuables are buried at? Do not go by a shovel. They guard this place like crazy, so don't even think about it. The steps extending east. At the steps extending east, 40 cubits long are silver service vessels weighing 17 talents. What clues are we looking for? Steps extending east, they got to be 40 cubits long, and we need an area to bury about 1,275 pounds of what? Silver service vessels. Do you see any steps extending east? If you don't, let me help you because I don't have time to wait. Right there. Steps extending east. But are those steps exactly 40 cubits long? No, they're not. Here's the measurement. 19.5 meters, according to the gentleman that did the research on this, Yitzhak Magen and Yuval Peleg, very important guys. The distance was 19.5 meters. Divide that by 767 inches, you got by 19.2 inches, you get exactly 39.98. You know how short that is of 40 cubits? About a half inch. I say that's close enough because that's 62 feet, about the width of this room. There is where the location, we believe, at the steps extending east, that is the Dead Sea in the background, and it is pointing east. That's what we're looking for, silver service vessels. Location 2, 900 talents of polished gold. I want to wake you guys up. It's after lunch, and you need to stay awake for this. Take a look at this. Now, you want to see what 900 talents of gold looks like? There you go. You think that's worth digging for? I'm going to say so. It's worth approximately $1,181,275,000 worth of gold laying there. Is it still there? Let me read what it says here. Accommodated in the built mount of the dry cistern is gold in the dry fountain of the great ruined courtyard of the peristyle. In the soft mire is hidden polished gold. How many talents? 900 talents. This is very difficult without my computer. What are we looking for? A dry cistern, the fountain, mud, a highest opening at Qumran, and a large enclosed courtyard. There are 2 courtyards at Qumran. If you get a chance, go out there. I'm going to go out there. As a matter of fact, we're going to be doing a tour in May out of Israel, and we're going to go out there, and I'm going to show a lot of stuff to you people if you want to go. 2 courtyards. Smallest one here, the courtyard Haggai is up there. That's the one we're looking for. There's the courtyard. A courtyard, a peristyle is what they call it. It's a Greek word spelled with Hebrew letters. The courtyard is an enclosed court with high walls. The dry cistern is the blue thing coming out of the sky. That is the cistern that runs from the mountains or the cliffs to this courtyard. The fountain, remember that name because we're going to come back to it. The peristyle, again, is an open courtyard. Mud, there was mud. Ladies and gentlemen, Qumran is the driest place on earth, so there's no mud there today. The highest open is exactly where that red dot is at, and the red dot is where 900 talents of gold, I think, are buried. And the reason I think that is here's this actual spot at Qumran. See the red dot? This is the scanner that we use to test it. It's called a Lorenz Z1. The Lorenz Z1, that red and white pattern you see there is a zigzag pattern. The thing will penetrate down to 50 feet, and it will let you know if it's gold or steel or non-ferrous and ferrous metals. There's the result of the scan that was done. The green, guys, you can't imagine, it's as long as this room. That's how big it is, and it's about 15 feet wide, 3 meters approximately. You see L3 up there, that peak? We just went beside the 900 talents, and look at the peak we got on that thing. It's incredible how much is potentially there. I'm not going to go through all this, just know this. The red, orange, and blue, because you're going to see some more of these, are the non-ferrous metals. What is non-ferrous? Gold, brass, copper, that sort of thing, silver. Green indicates iron or steel. Again, 900 talents of gold. Location number 3. The cave of treasures, the vessels, and the ephod of the treasury. That's what we're going to be looking for on this one. In the red heap are the wine vessels of the gleaming chamber, the ephod. I can't see the best of it down there. The ephod and vessels for treasure. Thank you. That's my buddy Chris helping me out. What are we looking for? We're looking for a red hill. We're looking for a cave. And the treasury. What are we talking about when we're talking about the treasury? That's something very interesting they're about to find out. Does anybody, this is Qumran in the springtime many years ago. Does anybody see a red heap in this picture? If you pick that, you're right. Everything that we're talking about at Qumran matches what's on the copper scroll. There are the wine vessels. We're yet to see those. We know what that is. We know what the ephod is. But what is the gleaming chamber? Has anybody got an idea what we're talking about? What is it in Hebrew? I can't tell you right now. I don't have the slide pulled up, and I'm not that good. That's what the gleaming chamber is. The Holy of Holies and the holy place. Can you imagine if you got the Shekinah glory and the menorah in there, both of them lit, what are you going to get? And why? Inside of those chambers, they're inside of polished gold. Remember, all the planks in there are coated with gold. Am I correct? You bet. Here's an interesting part. The first 3 locations at Qumran, watch this. They had a very specific intent and purpose. There's location number 1, location number 2, and location number 3. Do you see what they're doing? They're in a straight line ascending. What is the treasury? This is writer 1. What is he talking about? There are several names that they use in the copper scroll for the treasury. It is the citadel, the house of Acos, the treasury, the high place, and the house of the slanting guard post, treasury. Location number 4, a double entry mikvah. I've showed this, my research, to several men, one of them being Suka Dorfman of the Antiquities Authority. When I walked in and told him what I wanted, he thought I was a nut until I got to this location. At this point, he called his men and got them on the ball, and he got Yitzhak Magen and Yuval Peleg into his office right over here across from the temple. What is that called? The Rockefeller Center. Double entry mikvah. At the double entry pool with the entrance by the north edge of the community, 6 cubits against the white immersion pool of oblation rising from the soil and goes down and to the left, and is high above the soft mire, dig 3 cubits and 40 talents of silver. What we're looking for is like a fingerprint. The ridges, the swirls, that sort of thing. That's what we're looking for. It's got to match, guys. It can't be off just a little bit. It's got to match in order for us to be able to find the things that we're looking for. On the north edge of the community, that's the absolute north end, we're looking for a pool. It has to be a ritual bath. It has to have 2 entries, double entries. It has to, whenever you enter, you have to go down and to the left. You see that pool? It's white. When you enter, you have to go down and to the left. The sides of it are exactly 6 cubits long. The entrance is over there again. This is the highest pool at Qumran, just like it requires. Highest pool at Qumran, and is also geographically, it sticks out of the ground the highest of any other pool at Qumran. And also, all the blue stuff used to be mud. This is the pool at Qumran. You see the match. Guys, it's all there. This is Shelley Neese, the writer of the book we got out there on the table. That's my buddy Chris Knight, to give you a perspective of how big this thing is. And guess what? They too named that location a ritual bath, which is a what? Mikvah. 40 silver talents. Would you like to have one of those? First one to get out there and dig them up gets one. And you also get a prison sentence. Something strange about Qumran. Pay close attention. There's something very strange about Qumran. The double entry mikvah at Qumran and the double entry mikvah at the pool of Siloam. By rotating Qumran 180 degrees, when I first saw this map, I thought it was Qumran upside down. It wasn't. Watch. Here's Qumran. What is that? Jerusalem at the time of Jeremiah. Watch. They match. Why is that? When I showed this to the Sanhedrin, the current Sanhedrin, they did and I don't mean this ugly, ooh. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. There's something incredibly special about Qumran. Again, Qumran is an inverted image of Jerusalem at the time of Jeremiah. Look at the yellow map, you'll see Qumran. At the white map, you'll see Jerusalem at that time frame. There's Qumran. Can you see the words down below? It says fountain. On this side, Jerusalem, the fountain gate. This side, the double entry mikvah. This side, the pool of Siloam. Pool of Siloam, as it was, notice that the channel at the little museum of Jerusalem, it matches Qumran just the same way. And the fountain gate. There's a close-up of it so you can see that it actually was a double entry mikvah. Here's the water system at Qumran, water system at Jerusalem. The column of Boaz at Qumran, column of Boaz in Jerusalem. Zadok's room and the high priest pool at Qumran. That location right there represents the temple. And at Jerusalem, obviously the temple. The sheep's pen, the ram's pen, sheep's pool, sheep's gate. House of the women, women's gate, and the women's tower. Are you beginning to see the match yet? Here is the Jaffa match. Here is the Jaffa gate. Here is the watchtower at Qumran. Here are the watchtowers in the time of Jeremiah. There's more. The location of the next temple. That seems the big topic here at this conference. What would you say if we had a map from the time of Jeremiah that confirmed what these gentlemen here are saying today and ladies are saying here today? Here it is. Qumran The copper scroll not only gives us the locations of great amounts of temple treasures, it also gives us a map of Jerusalem at the time of Jeremiah. Do you see that? Right where the Temple Mount would be is where the column of Boaz is at, and the Zadok's room, and the high priest's fountain. Recognizing the holiness of Qumran, we're going to show you some things about Qumran, that they did some interesting holy things. Location number 29, the house of Acos. In the spot toward the area of assembly and proclamations, dig 6 cubits from the house of Acos. What is the house of Acos? Any of you scholars in here? At the time of the temple periods, the house of Acos were the treasurers. What are they doing out in the wilderness? What are we looking for? We're an open spot toward the assembly of where they do the proclamations and where they do the assemblies at. That spot should be approximately 10 feet from the corner of the treasury or the house of Acos. This is just to confirm it. I'm going to skip over it because I don't want to run out of time. Here is the house of Acos at Qumran, about 10 feet away. This is the area of proclamations and where they gathered at. That's where they buried these treasures. Now I want you to start noticing what they're burying because it's going to get more important to you. Again, the house of Acos. 6 judgment tithes of silver is what remains there. Location 32, the slanting guard post treasury. Now, if this one doesn't convince you, or the first one, these that I've shown you, don't convince you, this one's got to. Slanting guard post treasury. Into the place from the eastern path through the broken of the house of the slanting guard post treasury. There are juice vessels near, listen to this, are the scrolls and zealous writings of Haggai by the exterior. You see that? And if I could see the rest of it, I'd read it to you. Zealous writings of Haggai. This is actually one of the Dead Sea Scrolls. This shows you how important the books of Haggai were. So what I'm telling you is that little bitty, 3-pager at the end of the Tanakh, that's not all of Haggai's writing, people. There's more. And they're waiting just at the entry of Qumran. And you have to know these things along with the covenant. You have to know the books of Haggai to become part of this community out in the wilderness. Main entry, eastern path, rubble from the broken building, slanting walls, guard post treasury, and you got the idea. There is the treasury. There's the rubble from the path. There is the entry. See the red dot? That's where I believe that the scrolls of Haggai are laying, along with all the other items. But we need 2 support stones. You see the slanting walls of the guard post treasury. But there are no support stones, are they? Actually, what those are columns. However, look at that room back in the back. See that? Do you see what's laying there inside of the room? There's a column. There's the bases of the column. There's pieces of the column all over the place. There's another base at the very back. The columns are still there. You see this? That's the scan we did. Location number L32 was exactly where the entry was. So it appears that silver is making a signal for this to pick up. This large amount here, I'm not going to tell you about that one. Silver, that's what we're looking for. Zealous writings, that is more important to me than the silver. Zealous writings of Haggai. Location 37, the residence for anointing the prophets or the anointed prophecies, one of the 2. At the edge of the broken residence for anointing the prophet to the edge, it's 60 cubits. It's a ditch, 7 cubits deep, and it holds an amazing amount of silver. And you will find this, if you can see it, at the appointed time. But what appointed time are they talking about? What appointed time was there during the time of Jeremiah? Because they didn't do the Shemitah years? 70 years in Babylon. I think what happened was, here is 60 cubits, exactly what's required. That is the room that they're talking about for the anointed prophecies or the anointing the prophets. It's exactly 60 cubits from end to end. That's an actual picture of it. This is what we got in the scan, but you see there's only a small section of it left. What I believe happened is after the 70 years were up, who comes back? Haggai and Zechariah. Who were the two writers of the Copper Scroll that we recognize? Haggai and Zechariah. What were they teaching? What were they preaching in their books? They said, build the temple. Get it built. You're living in your paneled houses. Stop and build the temple before it's too late. What are we looking for? Huge amounts of silver. Location 38, the citadel with a double ditch. Two of the judgment offerings are concealed 40 cubits end to end. It's the breadth of the citadel, one of the names for the treasury. On the east side, dig and find the allotment of talents. Here is the citadel. You see that two red marks on the side of it? It's exactly 40 cubits, people. And if you'll notice, there are two ditches. There's an upper ditch at Qumran and a lower ditch at Qumran, end to end. And they are exactly on the eastern wall, 40 cubits. Location 45, the column of Boaz. Remember, I've been talking about this to confirm that the temple is in the right location on the Temple Mount. Called together, massing at the residence where the righteous speaks, by the sheep are two crown stones of proud Boaz. Our talents draw out 390 accumulation of gold atonement vessels. Chamber of Zadok, the columns and the capstones, what we're looking at, and there needs to be a sheep pen nearby. Guess what? Here's a sheep's pen, there's a room of the righteous one, and there are two capstones still laying there today. How can this be after 400 years? And of course, that's a room of Zadok. That red dot is not on top of the walkway, it's somewhere underneath it. So if you're going to go out there and steal something, you got to go underneath. I recommend against it, though. There's a sheep's pen. How do I know it's a sheep's pen? Because there's a sign there that says sheep and goat pen. You see that? Seriously. That's what we're looking for, gold atonement vessels. Location 48, the gold vessels torn to pieces. I'm not going to read everything on this one because I don't want to run out of time. In the righteous one's garden, at the four limits, are ruined gold vessels, wine vessels, peeled and cut to pieces. Yoke, sorrowful, kept secret, behold, at the appointed time. Place of the righteous one, four corners, and it's his garden, the righteous one's garden. Here's from 2 Kings. Look what they did, what Nebuchadnezzar did to gold vessels, which were the King Solomon's vessels. They cut them and tore them to pieces. Jeremiah 40 says that the captain of the guard, Nebuzaradan, gave him, Jeremiah, food and a great reward. What do you think that great reward might have been? The golden vessels cut to pieces. There's the righteous one's garden. How much time we got left? Owen? Oh, you better hurry. There it is. There are the vessels. I'm going to get to the cave. We're looking for the cave again. In the great hollow entry, which involves all the wealth of the house, placed and hidden in the entrance of the north end of the red heap, there is buried by the edge is another copy of this record, declaring the scattered words and the trapped wealth. There's the heap again. There is the locations 3 and 57. Look, ladies and gentlemen, location 53, 54, 55, 56, and 57 are in a straight line. The guy, Indiana Jones, said X doesn't mark the spot. No, it's a V that marks the spot. Did you enjoy it?